Well, hello everybody, Vicky here. I hope you are all well. And today we're working out of our second basket, and it's a big one. I think we'll be working on it for a while. This picture here has been floating around for quite a while and obviously got shot into the basket. I've backed it with some coffee dyed paper, and this little girl went really well with the whole theme. So I cut her out of the square, but then I cut that little garland of roses at the bottom out. I fussy cut them, and it looks like she's leaning out the window, and the flower box is there, and her hand is sort of sitting up over the roses. So I was really pleased with the way that it turned out. Now, this is just a lightweight piece of paper. I have no memory of why it's a scrap, but here we are. I've made a basic 2-fold envelope, and I'm just gluing it together now. I'm going to put a couple of little papers in there to get it going, and I'm going to close it with the little Velcro dots. Wow, having said all that, hello, I hope you're well. The reason why I'm racing a little bit is that I've edited this really, really harshly, because there's a lot of repetition, and there's things like me cutting out these bits of paper and looking for them and inking them. You don't need to watch to learn a technique. What I'm hoping is these use it one basket at a time will give you some, maybe help with your mojo, give you some ideas, or just something for you to watch when you're winding down or something. I don't know. It's more for inspiration than it is to be teaching you anything, because I'm quite sure that you all are streets ahead of me anyway. So that's the reason why, one of the reasons why I'm filming these is, I have said before, I have got so much stuff laying around, and I had so many baskets, for those that don't know, with stuff in it. They go into a plastic bag, into the cupboard, come out of the cupboard into a basket, to on my table, to this is it. It either gets used in these sessions, or I've completely got myself organised that it's got to be put in the bin if it doesn't get used. And the really depressing, brutal honesty, I have got a stack of baskets stacked up again already. I'm just going to have to learn where the bin is. I've just put a very simple little embellishment on that. It's just a rosette and a little commercial piece of paper. Now, this is a piece of shaving cream marbling, and while I had lots of fun doing it, I must admit I do prefer the water with the oil and the paint sitting on top of it than what I do this. But having said that, it's very pretty, and I will do it again. I guess I just like the results better. It's a little bit more traditional results than this way, but it was fun. Now, because it was a piece of in shaving cream and with paints and dye going everywhere, the back is quite messy. So I just put, because it's already on a card base, I just put a bit of coffee dyed paper behind it, and all that has to be done now is cut it into a basic tag base. So while I'm doing the eyelet and the fibre, take a breath and go, I hope you're doing well today. I hope that your week has been good, and the week to come is going to be amazing for you. The word Christmas is now a daily conversations, and I will say the same thing I say every single year. Nothing and nobody is perfect, and Christmas will happen whether you do it or not. So just be realistic with your goals and what you want to do. So what I've got here is I've got a butterfly, and I think I've shown you before. I get some scrap paper and I sew up the middle of the butterflies, but I sew them onto the paper and then cut the paper away, because most of our butterflies are very lightweight paper and they will tear. So I kind of like chain piece them up the middle and then cut the threads. And then by putting some glue on their little feelers, it means that it stiffens it up, because obviously cotton is flops everywhere. And I've just put that butterfly onto a little tag piece of ephemera that comes with something or other commercially, and I'm just putting it on there. So I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. We'll do the eyelet now, I think, but I just wanted to put that little butterfly. I don't tend to do a lot of embellishment on these pre-made ephemera that we're doing, because oh no, that's right, I forgot that too. I'm just rounding the wings a little bit. I only glued him on through the body, so I'm just trying to get a little dimension in the wings, and just by carefully rolling something thin like your stiletto, like I just did, will give a little bit of dimension. And I'm just doing a basic eyelet with some seam binding and even so, a lot of the tags that I've done, I don't put eyelets and fibre in the top of them. A lot of them I will be listing to sell. They will be in my shop. So if anybody wants to buy them and asks me to put the eyelets in, it won't cost that much for me to go through and do. It costs you that much for I can go through and do that. Or it gives you the option of being able to do what you want to do with it. I mean, I don't always put eyelets in the top of mine. I use ruffles, and I use a variety of other things besides the eyelets. It just depends on what pleases me at the time. And while it might seem like a really bizarre colour to use with that tag, surprisingly, it does look really quite nice. And the other thing too is if you're gifted tags and you think, oh no, I'm not quite sure of the fibre that's in the top of it, just take it out and put something else in it. So what this is here is another piece of paper, and it wasn't that strong. So I've sewn a piece across the top of it, and it is going to be a wraparound pocket. So I thought, since it's going to be it's going to be a stress point with tags going in and out, I decided to sew some paper along there, and that's almost like a little design feature. And I thought, well, since I've got a straight row of stitching, I better do a straight fold. So it's just as easy to get the scoreboard out. Like, I have the scoreboard out and the big and the little guillotine near me, so that I do actually use these things. We've got them sitting there and we've bought them. We need to use them because we have them, and we think, oh, it's too much. I only want to do just this one thing. It's too much trouble just to get it. It's have them where you can reach them where you're sitting, and it is twice as quick because you're using the right thing to do the job. So I got a nice straight line on that, and just getting that sorted now. And I'm sorry I keep going out of screen and I work down the bottom. I am trying to do something about that. I really am. It's because I sit too far back in my chair. I need to position myself properly to push me forward. So one side of the wraparound pocket, I've got the paper turned over and like into a little triangle, and I put a brad in there just to make it look a little bit different. So one side is straight edged and the other side has that little, and that probably will be more of a tuck spot than it will be a pocket, but the one on the front will be a pocket. Now, it's a pretty little spring happy botanical type of paper, And I think that it would look good in any like vintage botanical. It's just very sweet, and I think it'll just fit in. So, and then it's a good size. You can get things in there, a couple of tags and what have you. So these are just all random bits of paper that I don't know. Probably should be putting most of it in the bin instead of the basket, but I, yeah, I haven't. Maybe by the time I get to the 50th basket. I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't think I'm exaggerating with everything that I've got in the cupboard now. All these ones that are all over the floor again. Um, I don't know. Maybe by the time I get halfway through this series, I might go, yeah, no, I'm just going to put that whole one in the bin. I'm not looking. I can't see it happening, but you never know. I'm just gluing that flap down just a little bit to make sure that it doesn't roll or foul on anything that's been picked up and put in and taken out of it, and making sure it's just sitting all nice and flat. So that's another one that's good to go. And the good thing about this one is the paper is oh, I'm still fiddling. See, this is my problem. I fiddle. Oh no, I'm not fiddling. Don't be so hard, Vic. So this is what we've done. I'm calling it. I'm calling time now on this session, and we've made the 4 pieces, and I'm very pleased with them. So now we're up to the same basket, but this is just the second time or third time or whatever it is. And what I'm doing is so I don't get too picky and I leave everything that I don't want to do to last, I'm just picking out a handful or two and plopping them up the top of my desk. That way I'm not spending huge amounts of time using my fingers to run through and see what's there and what isn't there. So this is, I'm going to have to get a little bigger plastic container, aren't I? So this is all the things that we've made so far out of this basket. So I'm just popping those ruffles up the top and just checking, making sure that there's nothing in there that I could use. So now I'll just push all that to the top and I'll have a look at things. And if I'm not sure about something, I'll just put it to the side and go back to it after I have a think. So this has got the most beautiful colour pink on the other side, which I never thought would come out of my mouth. A beautiful pink, but there you have it. So I've just lined it with the, as you saw, the coffee dyed manila folder, and I just put an edge around it just to bring it in, and I'm leaving it as it is so that it can be embellished to fit into where it's going. Now, small bits of paper, you say, Vic, really seriously, and I agree with you. But I've got a Tim Holtz label cutter, and those labels really do come in very handy. Now, the last time I cut out the wildflowers, I put it in a piece of paper that would give me at least, around the 6x4 left over with the negative space to use as a card. And what I'm gluing it onto is this is experimenting I was doing with, I think, oxides and brushos. And while a couple of them I think are okay-ish, I didn't know what I was going to do with them because I do believe I used far too much water on them and I didn't get the exact result I was looking for. But when I started looking for something to go behind these cards, I realised that bright's good. As you'll see up the top there's some very pretty colours, but they're more pastel. But the bright behind these negative spaces look great. So I went to wipe off a little spot and realised that, all too late, that these are oxides and they're getting wet. So my baby wipe ended up smearing the yellow, which turned out to be like lemon, all over the card. And I just like, oh, in the bin, because that's my first response, in the bin, start again. But then I realised it looked really nice. So probably, well, it does, looking at it, looks blotchy, but it's quite a nice blend, and I didn't want to make it a perfect full cover. So uh, I've just dabbed the wet the wet wipe into the oxide ink, and yeah, I really really like it. Now what I'm doing here because I don't want we glue it down. I didn't want to get glue into the negative space, because then that was just going to make a muck. Everything would stick to it and it'd just be horrible. But the thing is when you've got something like this flower that's got all those little petals, you need to make sure that they are stuck down, because bringing the card in and out of the envelope is going to bend those and rip them, and card won't look nice anymore because the flower's all ripped. It's a bit tedious, but I think it's worth the effort. One, to have them stuck down, and not to have a great blob of glue coming through the hole. So that was my solution. And it looks a little bit fiddly, but honestly, it just didn't take that long. And it's those little things that make the project. It's they say the devil is in the detail, I think. Oh, we've had a very hot day today. I don't know if you hear a noise behind me, it's the air conditioner, and yeah, it's been a slow build up to summer this year, but if this is it, it's here. It's here. I don't know what the weather was today but when you're trying to walk through it outside, it's almost like you're trying to cut through it, which is obviously not what it is, but it just feels like it. So once again, I'm using up all my things my aids or my tools that I have bought, and I've decided that because I've gone to so much trouble to get this card looking nice, I'm using the stamping platform just to put a little saying on it. Now, I don't tend to do a lot of measuring anymore, as you can see. I used to always have the ruler out and pencil and marking it off, and so using the scoreboard, I just lay the card down and I mark off where I need to cut it. So this is the card base. I'm particularly fond of black card bases or bases, because the black really makes the colour at the front pop out. It's quite a stark contrast, and it just gives that little extra, I think, to whatever it is that you're making. So I'm just cutting the card now, and I've allowed, I don't know, about an eighth of an inch or whatever it is, just a little frame around it. So this gets us that card. Now it's card stock. It's A4 size, and it's 210 GSM, so it's quite heavy. So that's worked well. We've got it the size we want, but then I've decided that I'll just frame up that picture, which I think is probably a good idea, just to sort of like give an end to where that lighter lemon yellow colour's going. And what's everybody else up to? The reason why I'm racing so much with this video is I did cut it. I did do a pretty big edit on it. So, of course, that means I have to try and speak to keep up with it. So I didn't think that out too well, did I? But we're getting there. And I decided that it did actually need some gold. I don't know if it's the yellow and the oranges, the fire colours. I just thought it was just screaming. So while that gold is drying, obviously because we've got a black card, we can't write in it. Not everybody's got a white pen. So what I do is I just make some inserts to go inside the card so people have got something to write on. And I think I'm using sketchbook paper. It's in a big pad that you buy. I get 3 from a sheet, and it works really well. It's when I get them on special like I do, it's an economical way to buy paper like this, that you're not adding, I wouldn't add any sort of media onto it, but as an insert and to write on, it's just right. It doesn't give any extra bulk to the card. So that's about it. I just cut it to size, round the corners, and for no other reason than I like it. In the corner inside, I do a little stenciling. It's just vintage photo just down in the corner. I don't even know whether or not you're going to be able to see it, but trust me, it's there. So I just do that little bit, and because I like it, that's it. So now I'm getting my envelope sorted. It's exactly the same as the card base, the 210 GSM cardstock. So I've laid the card down that tells me where I have to fold it. I put it in and have a look how far it sits up from there, and then I line it up to where, because you have to give a little bit of room for it to go over the card when it folds. So that's so simple that way, just to get the right size. It just really is. You can see how quick it comes together. So all I do with that is, there are times when I'll cut that top flap down, and other times I don't. So all I'll do to that envelope now is make sure, well, I'll check and make sure that I've got the size right. And don't forget, when you're making an envelope, that you have to allow space for the glue. If you don't do that, the envelope's going to be too small. So I'm just cutting off the side of the envelope now. I've made allowances for the glue, and it's just a simple cut down there. And then we just glue. No, we don't glue the sides yet, because what I do is I round the four corners, and I put a thumb notch in as well. So just because I like it, and I think that's a good enough reason. I think with envelopes, they look nice when they've been cut. Rounded, that was the word I was looking for. So it's just a matter now of just closing up that envelope. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. So there you can see the hint of the lemon poking up. And there are times when I'll cut that smaller, and you can see more of the card. It's just whatever happens on the day. It's not a rule. There's no rules. There's no measurements. It's just however you do it, how much you've got, and all the rest of it. But there's a lot more paper there that you could do without if you haven't got a lot of paper and you want to use it for an envelope, because you can see the flap goes down a long way, and the pocket that the card sits in is quite deep as well. So now we've got the same problem as inside the card. We've got to be able to write on it. So that was a scrappy bit of white paper that was in the basket, and it is now 2 labels. So everything can be used. We just have to think how. And once again, for no other reason than I like it, I do a little bit of, light stenciling in the corner of each of the tags. Certainly nothing that will interfere with writing on it, and if you had to write over it, it wouldn't be a problem. It is just really very light cover, and I'm not even sure that you can pick it up, but it's there. And then we just put so the black gives us 3 extra steps, as in the insert to the card and the labels onto the envelope. But for my eye, as a person who likes black as well, I must remember that I do like black. I think for those extra couple of steps, it just gives it a little bit of wow factor, I think, the contrast. And that was me trying to ink it after I glued it. It probably better to ink and then glue. But you probably know that. I'm the only one that sort of hasn't got the memo. So now I've shown you pretty much the whole process of making that card, and I've got, I think, 3 other cards to make as well. Now, I'm not going to take you through the whole process of all those cards the same way, because I think you don't need to. And if you're new and you happen to be learning off this, just rewind back to that one. So you'll see snippets of everything we're doing now. Now, this one has been done with oxides, and it was just, I didn't like it. And so what I did is I squirted it with some water, and then I rolled the towel, paper towel over it, and you saw how much paint lifted. So I'm a lot happier with it now. So while that's drying, and this is, you never know, it's trash and treasure in these baskets. I've come across a couple of these policy envelopes that I'd made, and the only thing that needed to be done was the closures to put on them. So I did that, and then that black bit that you just saw me with the tweezers is the, I don't like seeing the prongs on the back, plus what you're putting in and out does snag on them. So the reason why I used a black dot inside there is because it's a black polka dot. So I thought I'd just put a big black polka dot there. But anyway, by putting a little circle over the prongs, things aren't going to snag on it. Now, this is a lightweight little cotton. It's been plied with a very thin gold through it, and it unravels. It hasn't been plied tightly, so it will unravel. So what I find the best thing to do with it is once you cut it, if you've got something that's been loosely plied and frays away on you, just take your time and do 1 or 2 knots and put the second knot on top of the first one. And then all you need to do is just get a little bit of glue and on your fingers, and that will stiffen up that, and it won't fray on you as a rule. So we're just going to, we've got I've put that blue cardstock behind that flower, and we're just putting our little saying on it now. Now, they're very generic cards. Nothing says happy birthday, sympathy. It's just a nice little saying for somebody, a greeting card. A greeting card just to send to somebody to say, thinking of you. Yeah. So where are we up to? Oh, my goodness. So we've got the envelope done now, and there's another card done. I wish I could do them this quick. Oh, let's drag it down together. Now you can see I'm getting a little bit tired because I'm just doing that little selective dance there, and that's the reason why I don't go to the basket every time I've got to do another project, because I'd be there the whole time flicking through. Plus there's things that I wouldn't see because there's just so much in there. So I come across, and I believe it's 10 tags. They've all been backed, they've all been sewn on, and all that needed to be done is for the little tails to be cut and to be inked around. And I've got a feeling that this type of thing is what I do when I can't sleep. So I can't sleep, I can't just, I don't know, I can't do nothing. I wish I could. I go down to the craft room and I do something that I don't have to think about. Well, I've been sewing for so long now, it's almost getting embarrassing. So I've done that in the night, and then I've gone to sleep or got interrupted. And rather than finish them off the next day, they go in the basket to get finished. This is just a random topper that was in the basket, very, very lightweight and shiny paper, but it's really beautiful. It'll go in any vintage journal. It really is lovely. So up the top, the leaves just sort of like go over the top of the frame. So I was just cutting around them. So just by putting a little bit of backing, a firm back on it, in this case the manila folders, it means that you can put it in a pocket or in a side tuck and it will work lovely. You leave it with just a piece of paper and you're going to have to find somewhere to glue it down. And to my mind, I thought it would have more versatility if it can be in and out of pockets and what have you. So what have we got here? We've got another card that I've got on the go. Okay, so I've what I started doing is, if I was doing a card, I cut it all out at once. I did the envelope, folded it, and I did all the folding ready to go. Now this is another one of those experimenting that I was doing with the brushos. And yeah, I sort of like, yeah, it's okay. But behind this, it looks absolutely, I love it. And I think this card's probably my favourite. I do like that a lot, that one, for some reason. It's my colours, it's the colours. I'm an autumn person in blues, so just having a little look at what's here. So we've got, I don't know, I apologise if somebody has sent this to me. And I think I made it because I've got that paper pack here, and it's a die cut and it's just 3 little shallow pockets. Now, this is another policy envelope in the making, but what I did, and I think a lot of these things that are made and not finished are the things I do at night when I'm sitting there that I don't have to think about. But I probably should have thought a little bit more when I was doing this one, because if you see the top flap, to get a proper policy closure on that, I'd have to cut a fairly small circle, and I'm thinking I'm just going to put a Velcro closure on it. Once again, not doing anything else to it, just a bit of ink around it and leaving it blank so that it can be coordinated into wherever it's going to be going, where it's going to end up living. But yeah, just be mindful that you need to have enough of a flap if you want the policy closure. And I could have done it. I could have gone down to a little tiny one, but then it would have been so little it would have looked funny on an envelope that size. So I thought Velcro dots it is. There you go. So I don't know what I'm still doing. I think I'm just waiting for the glue to dry. And I don't know where we're up to. What are we doing? I think we've got one more thing in us before I sort of wrap it up for the night. No, a couple. This is another one of those toppers that I'm not 100% where it come from. It's shiny paper and it's a beautiful photo. Once again, got no weight in it. So I've decided to back it and ink it, and that's another one that can go in and out of a journal, particularly a vintage one. So I've got the card base done there, ready to go. We've put our insert inside. Now, I had a look at this paper in the beginning and I didn't like it. But then when I had another look at it, I put it in diagonally, and it did look really quite nice on the diagonal. It made all the difference. So I've gone ahead and sorted that out. I've laid it down and said, yep, that'll work. I like that. So now we're going to get that done. I haven't got any news. Well, we haven't done anything, and we haven't been watching the streaming service. But the BBL cricket starts on Thursday, so look out. So here comes the first issue. When you've got a coloured card or a card paper that you have to cut away from your card, turn it over to the front so that you can make sure that you're cutting the coloured paper and you're not cutting your card. Because you have this situation on your hand. So I went through and had a look at what was in the basket, and I found this little piece of paper. It's a brick wall, and I thought, yeah, I think that might actually work. I've got nothing to lose at this stage, let's face it. So I got it ready and I glued it, and I thought, well, we'll see how it goes from there. And as it turns out, I was actually really pleased with what happened. So it looks like there's like the wall behind the flower, and I'm thinking, I think this might work, and I do like it. But I like clean lines. I'm not like, I don't understand shabby chic. I know why people love it, and it's beautiful, but it's too much for me. It's like sensory overload. So I'm more of a slimline planed person. I get all caught up in knots when I have to try and I'm getting better with clusters and like a little bit of decorating, but I do tend to like straight lines. So I didn't know how I'd go with this. So what I'm doing here is I've just laid down the bit of card that I was not supposed to cut, so that I can get a line on where it has to be recut now to keep it square. The other thing I thought I would do, and I tried, is some sort of ribbon or decorative paper, like glue that card back into that corner back in, and then put a little ribbon or trim or something. But it kind of like encroached on that flower. If you have a look at where the grey goes through, you'll see it's pretty close to that flower, and it just looked a little bit crazy. I thought it did anyway, right up near the top. To have it, you'd have to have a piece running really on the very edge of the cut, and then I think it still would be a little bit close. So I'm just making sure that everything's going to line up, because one mistake in a card's enough without any more. And I like it. I was really pleased with it. I thought it doesn't look fussy. It's okay. It's a bit strange having a random back wall there. I almost was going to do a ragged bit down the bottom, sort of like so it was growing out of the same sort of wall at the front, but I decided to leave well enough alone and just to add a saying on there. And then I went and did this. I got a butterfly and I glued it on there, and not so happy with that. So I think it was much better without the butterfly, but the butterfly's there now, so it can't fly away. It's stuck. And then I've just gone around and framed it with a bit of ink. And there we have it on the base. So it's not, I think it's okay. I do. I think it turned out all right. In hindsight, having made the same mistake, I pretty much would have done the same thing, but I don't know about the butterfly. Butterfly's beautiful. I just don't know whether or not it was the right thing to do. But anyway, it's there, and that's the card, and that's the way we roll. So now at the end, I'm just going to put the pieces out that we've done. Now this was 3 videos put together, and I wish I could work this quickly. Just remember, if you're new and you're watching this, you don't see the things that have gone wrong. We don't make these things at this speed. We never get everything right. So don't be scared off by what you see in our content because there's all sorts of different mistakes everywhere. So here are all the tags that we did, and yes, there is 10. So all that didn't take very long to do. So we're quite productive today. I think over the series, the 3 videos, we've done well. So I'm just going to show you the cards now. We've talked about them enough. And I'd like to take this opportunity to say we're in December now, as we all know. and that Christmas word's getting bantied around everywhere. And just remind everybody that nobody's perfect. You're not going to do everything perfect, and that's okay. And no matter what happens, Christmas is going to come. And we're not going to be able to do anything about it, no matter how prepared we are or not. So just hang on and enjoy the ride. And at this time of the year, I always ask everybody to be kind to yourself and to be kind to others. But particularly now at Christmas time, I'll leave you with that. So you take care, everybody. And I look forward to be able to seeing you in our next video.